It's a soft brioche-like swirl bread with buffalo mozzarella, raw ham, and fresh basil filling. It's perfect for packed lunch or when you're headed out to the beach. So let's make some. So I added the yeast to the warm milk. I'm going to leave that for about 5 minutes to activate until it looks frothy. Then we know it's ready to use. And now we're going to add the salt to the flour. So make a well in the middle, add the salt to one side, and proceed to add the yeasted milk in the middle. What you're trying to do is just to make sure that they're not in direct contact with each other. Add in the whisked egg and knead the dough on a low speed until almost all the flour has been incorporated to the rest of the wet ingredients. Add the butter bit by bit, and once it's incorporated, increase the speed to medium and knead for 10 minutes. Thereafter, increase the speed again and knead for a further 5 minutes. What you're looking for is a shiny, smooth dough without any lumps or flour pockets. Lightly wet your fingertips and perform the window test. It may be a little sticky, so don't worry. Perform the window pane test. You need to stretch the dough between your fingertips. What you want is for it to be able to stretch so far that it does not easily break apart, as you can see. And once the dough has passed the test, tip it into a lightly oiled bowl covered with cling film to rise until doubled in size. If it does not pass the window pane test, you need to knead the dough for a further 5 minutes at medium speed. And once the dough is ready, give it a good punch in the middle and tip it onto a lightly floured surface. At first, use your fingertips to shape the dough into a rectangle. After that, you can use a rolling pin to even it out. It may be a little sticky, but try as much as you can to use as little flour as possible, because if you add too much flour, it will interfere with the consistency of the dough, and that is not what you want. You want a very soft dough. And once the rectangle measures approximately 11 by 17 inches, you can proceed to evenly layer the ham over the rolled out dough. When you buy raw ham, many times you find that it has the edges have quite a bit of fat. I choose to take those out. If you don't, if you have a preference to keep the fat, you can. However, for this recipe, I took out the fat. And now we add on the mozzarella. Buffalo mozzarella is normally quite milky. There's no need to try to squeeze out any of those juices, so just evenly spread it out over the raw ham. And to finish it off, we have fresh basil. I would absolutely not recommend using dried basil, so fresh all the way. Roll the dough. You can either do it coming towards you or going against you. Does not really matter, as long as you're rolling the dough lengthwise. When rolling the dough, make sure that you're tightly tucking in the toppings into the dough. Place the dough seam side down and use a very sharp knife to cut through the dough lengthwise. Make sure the knife goes all the way to the bottom and that all the toppings have been sliced through. Now I know this next part can be a bit intimidating because of the toppings inside that seem to want to be falling out of the dough already. But what you can do is just give it a little bit of a squeeze to make sure that everything is intact. And then using both hands, hold one log of the dough, one dough log if you'll call it that, and bring it over to the other side and just repeat until the ends of the dough meet. And bring the tails to meet, forming a circle. Try as much as you can to tuck in any basil leaves because they will burn in the oven if just left, out in the open. So tuck in the basil leaves and fold in any toppings that you see falling off. This part can be a little bit tricky, so just make sure you are not hesitating. Hold the dough with both hands and slip it onto a lightly floured parchment paper. And now transfer the dough to a baking tray and leave it to rise for another 1 hour or until doubled in size. Remember to cover with cling film first and then a kitchen towel. And after an hour or so, the dough will have doubled in size. So proceed to preheat the oven to 200 degrees Celsius, that's about 395 Fahrenheit, and proceed to glaze your bread. Can we call it bread now? Not yet. Okay, proceed to glaze the dough with egg wash. Finish it off with a good sprinkle of Parmigiano Reggiano, or if you don't have that, you can use Parmesan. That's it, we're done. So make sure to put the baking tray in the middle of the oven. Bake that for 25 minutes and rotate the baking tray halfway through. And this is what our soft brioche-like swirl bread looks like. It is so tempting to want to just dig in right now, but wait for it to cool, completely cool, before you cut through it. So thank you so much for stopping by. For the recipe, just go to my blog, and if you like what you see here, remember to subscribe.